Hey everybody, this is Grace, and I'm leaving the lab where I did blood work. Took some blood work. It was fast, man. I was just in and out of there so fast. My appointment's still my appointment's later than now, so that's fast. They don't play that whole game. If you have to wait to exactly your appointment, then they're late. You know what I'm saying? They don't do that. But, okay, and now I'm on my way to go get us some lunch. Soul Man's Barbecue. And I don't mind having the barbecue, but I don't like having it too much. But they're what is it called? One kind of it. I looked it up and I've asked them, I've looked it up, and the sodium count is so low. It's the brisket, and it is very low. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can do that. But Adam likes just to have that himself. He gets a 2-meat plate, but he gets that, and I'm like, okay. But he told me, I called him and he said, get him some of that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go there. It's not close to where I am now, but where I am now is not close to home either. So let's kind of go into the next, through this suburb of Dallas, and then up to northern one, just north of here. Not, it's connected, so. But it's a lot of driving. Anyway. Okay, I was just thinking, what about a topic? Okay, I've been thinking about this expression, and I looked it up, and it wasn't exactly like I learned it, but it's, the expression is living high off the hog. My voice is going out, so, yeah. I've been having a lot of trouble lately with that, but it's allergy season, big time. But anyway, living high off the hog, and it comes up in different ways for me. But basically, somebody's when I'd ever heard it, it's like the person is having the wealthy items, but wealthy things they're doing, like eating things that are expensive, and or they what they drive, whatever. But the way I'd always heard it was that they didn't have the money to live high off the hog. They didn't have the money to live like that. They think that they eat whatever expensive stuff. And they just didn't have. There was another one that I heard when I was a kid. That one I heard as a kid. This one I heard as a kid also. It was caviar appetite and Bologna money. The expressions and sayings and whatevers, idioms and so on and so forth from my childhood. And there's a thing called blinker, but they're hilarious. Some of them are hilarious. Even when I was young, not a child. Do you see this person in front of me weaving into that lane? Okie dokie, are you tick-tocking? That's what Adam says. They must be tick-tocking. I don't know. I would always say they're off texting somebody in their mind, or they are sitting there texting. Anyway, living high off the hog. And yeah. Okay. Now I want to give a little background about Adam and I. We met and married when I was 18. He's older than I, not by much. But, we met and married way back then. And we had it rough, man. I'm talking seriously unbelievable. We even, 2 times, what was it? You rent a room. It wasn't called boarding back then. Maybe that's just what it was and nobody called it that. But, yeah. mean, it was rough. And we, and I decided we were going to start moving. He had a friend that lived in Austin, Austin, Texas, and we weren't living here. We were living closer to Houston, and so he had a friend in Austin. So we're moving, and we did. I asked him to ask him if we can stay until we get a job. We got one like both of us right away, and moved into our own place, and the rest is history. We wound up would move whenever there was something that was better. It was that whole thing people say, work smart, not hard. Well, let me tell you, sometimes you got to do both. Sometimes you just got to work hard until you can do that. Whatever it is, it's going to help you to make whatever you. Don't listen to some people saying, well, you got to do it this way. You shouldn't do it that way. That way or that way doesn't work for everybody. So, period. Okay, but I don't tell anybody what to do, so strike that and just think, I wasn't trying to tell you what to do, but just the way I speak. But gotta do what they want to do. Anyway, I just don't believe that these one size fits all kind of things. But anyway, we went through, we had to live frugal. And I was the one that did all, mainly. We went back and forth on who handled the bills and everything. That was a long time ago. But it worked out to where, he's better at doing the bills, money. I'm not a money person. I'm not, I have an impressive IQ, but money is just not my thing. Seriously. I'm like, as long as I have enough to survive, I have no love of money, period. And I just really don't like having to deal with it. So, and mine was, I did all the homemaking and all these kind of stuff. I think I did too much, but yeah, I really did. I would be a homemaker, a student, and an employee. That's a lot. It's a lot on a person. And anyway, there were times that he and I weren't together. He would be in another state working, and anyway, it was rough. But we eventually made it, and we don't have to worry about all that stuff. Never say you never have to worry about it again, because I don't believe in this kind of thing, but I don't want to tempt fate. I don't believe in tempting fate, but you know what I'm saying. Or maybe not. Maybe I don't even. But anyway, yeah, we finally to a place where we can, go and live high off the hog and eat high off the hog, that kind of stuff. Like I don't think I'd always pretty much heard of it is when somebody would, whatever they wanted to eat, or when they went to a restaurant, or whenever they went to a club, or whatever, they were trying to live like they didn't have the money though to do so. They were trying to show off, and the funds didn't match. So, and usually it was somebody trying to use somebody else's money. Seriously, to do so. I was never one to do any drinking. I don't drink. I never, was into all that. Like I said, I got married when I was 18, and I had to be grown up fast. And, but I, knew a couple of women, one of them being, family member, and one of them was always trying to, they'd go out to a club or something, and like, one would say, I'll get this one. I don't remember how they said they did it, but the other one would always say, I'll get this first round or something, or whatever, and it would be just a cheap beer. But then whenever it was the other person's, the other woman's time, she'd order the most expensive drink that she could think of. And that's been their relationships ever since then, with their friendship. They both have, anyway. But somebody trying to live high off the hog. That's how I always heard the expression. And I remember it was one another thing that reminds me of is back I think it was 2017 and 2018, Adam's sister, whose age is between mine and his, I had never met her in person. She lives in another country, and never met her in person, and she had basically dissed me one time. She basically made me think, screw you, woman. You know, everything was done back then through mail and sometimes phone conversations because it was overseas. It was so expensive back then that it just didn't happen. There was no Skype or anything like that. And basically, she would, send us a letter or have somebody some way get a word to us that they needed this or that and the other. And we were scraping to get by, and I'd go and buy a little here and there. But it got to a point one time when she said that I sent the wrong, something that was bad, and then it cost her money for, what are they called? I don't know if it's called, not customs. Is that what it is? Whatever it is that it costs them. They tax them for what it's being sent to them. Whatever it's called, I don't know. And she threw like a big hissy fit, and I said, screw it, I'm not sending you anything anymore. And I never did. Never sent them anything. But sometimes it was like whenever one of them was going to go back, for a vacation to that country, we'd send stuff with them and all that. And we were cutting into what we needed. Our own money, what we needed. But she was basically then trying to live high off the hog. And she bragged about what we got her and stuff like this. Well, the worst that she did after all that was that one, and she just threw this royal temper tantrum. And I said, forget it, screw it. But that wasn't it. And when she came here in 2017, 2018, the first time I met her, right off the bat, I had never met her in person. There's a language barrier. But, she spoke a little bit enough of English to understand what she was saying, and she was playing the victim. She immediately started telling Adam stuff about one of their cousins, how the female cousins was being rude and mean to her and all this stuff. And I'm like, she was playing the victim. I sat there and I said, no, she is the victimizer. Yeah, this is BS. And that's just not the way you meet somebody. And, I use my videos for my pressure release valve, and nobody's going to know any of these people anyway. So, yeah, it's my way of journaling. But I've been doing it for 10 more years. Anyway, so when she came here then in 2017, and like I said, I met her, and I was like, oh, I summed her up so fast, and I was not wrong, and Adam even knows it, and he's one of those has that loyalty to family, even though they're bad, and even the bad seeds. And anyway, she, because she'd stay with us. She was here 6 months. I think that was the maximum that she could travel here and stay. And she has 3 brothers here, one of them being Adam. And so she stayed with us. Our place was her main place, and I guess because of DFW airport, And so she stayed here with us. And I couldn't stand her. Oh my gosh, such a horrible person. But I would take, go grocery shopping. She didn't have a license to drive here and all this stuff, so I'd have to take her with me. Well, she wouldn't spend her own money. And I told Adam, he said, don't worry about it, just buy her what she needs. This kind of thing. I didn't have to ask his permission or ask him anything, but he was the one working, and it made sense in my head. Then I told him on purpose, if she, look, and one time I got into grocery store, and she's trying to she wanted to live high off the hog. And I explained to him, look, listen to me. She's, it wasn't about me asking permission for her to spend his money. It was for me to tell him, look, and I know him, he doesn't want to see. You see what I'm saying? He doesn't want to see it. So she's wanting to buy some kind of olive oil. And it was crazy. It was a crazy amount, like 50, 60, I don't know how much bucks for some olive oil. And I told him, he said, hell no. I mean, I wasn't asking him. I was not planning on at all buying it. Just screw that. Like I said, that's my attitude with people like that. Screw you. But I just wanted him to see. I wanted to see if his eyes would open just a little bit. Because I have not known him in over 40 years. And boy, my eyes were open fast to mine. Yeah. So anyway, screw you. But yeah, she wanted to live high off the hog on our money. And she still does. She still tries. But like her daughter, who's 31, came here, left early this year. She was here in the country 2.5 years, and she wasn't with us the whole time. Neither one of them was with us the whole time they were here. But they weren't here together. It's all those years apart. But she was horrible. And Adam just finally said yesterday, that he realizes that all of my health conditions, my serious health conditions, happened when his niece was with us each time. And he understands that she was the cause. I knew it. I flat out told him that I really do think, I'm not going to downplay it anymore. I didn't downplay the way that I saw all the things that she did. Creepy crap. I almost said something else, said crap, but I'm not that type of person. But anyway, creepy. I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the creepy stuff people do. What in the world is this next to me? Okay. But, somebody has 2 old hot water heaters and a bunch of junk in the back of a Bubba truck. But, hope that stuff don't fall down, man. Anyway. Okay, but anyway, I mean, that's how I've always heard that expression. It wasn't that they had the money to live high off the hog. It was that they wanted to. And they would do it and without the money, or they'd do it with somebody else's money. You'll find some way of, it's a bad negative thing. It's not a good thing. So, anyway, I got triggered. Actually, it wasn't, I can't even say, I guess in a way I got triggered for the memories of those things by seeing somebody online, one of these Ebeggars, that's how I see it, basically trying to live high off the hog by begging and claiming so many troubles that the audience, the viewers, the whatever you want to call them, from whatever, but seeing this, person trying to live high off the hog and doing so, okay, of their audience's money. And nothing special about this person, except they lie. That's my opinion, of course, and I don't ever name who it is, or say their what channel. I don't do that for anybody, anything. The channel, the whatever the other they call them. I call them all channels. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, on this one it's this called this, and on that one it's called that. That to me is like, well, screw it. Seriously, I have a screw it kind of attitude. But I don't care if other people don't. I do. I really don't care. to learn every single thing. I mean, maybe when I was younger, but now I know way too many words and way too much slang. Seriously. So, okay, but now, it's for the more recent, what I've seen, and it's not just one. I keep saying it as though it's just one person, but it's not. That is doing this currently, that is triggering me. And like I said, every video I'll say one person, but it's more than one. And I mean, if you, yeah, see, I'm pulling up. Okay, I didn't say this, but this, when we eat out, it's usually like for both of us, 40-something bucks, 50-something bucks. Man, back in those days, that would have been ours. Oops, my alarm just went off. But that would have been our groceries for a couple weeks or so. Shoot, back in 2010, I was somewhere living by myself, and the 25 bucks a week was my groceries. Okay, my grocery money. Seriously. I didn't last long with that, because then I started having problems. I wasn't eating right at all. It was a rough time with my mother and all that. She eventually died, but I wasn't eating enough, and my body started paying for it. Yeah. But anyway, to jump to it, why I'm talking about this time is because it's kind of like, this is eating high off the hog. Even to me now. I mean, you go anywhere. You go get a hamburger combo. Next thing you know, they're saying 40 bucks for 2 people. You're like, what the crap? I'm stuck in another era. Really. And I said, you can go to a restaurant, sit-down restaurant, as some people call it. Dine in, or just a, middle class kind of thing. Or, middle class. And it's the same price as some of these fast food places. And we're not talking about getting a whole bunch of stuff either, or make it at large. It just is what it is. Okay, but this is living high off the hog when we have the money. An example of living high off the hog when you have the money. But like I said, you never know what can happen. And my life, as it has been, has taught me you might be going through some really good times. We were younger. We had times when I was making more money than I have ever made to this day. And that was back in the 80s, 1980s. More than I ever have since then. And boom, it was over. Just circumstances as it was. It wasn't, it was just boom, it was over. And I was real lucky to be making that back then. Especially as a female. Yeah. There's that. Some people these days, growing up, coming up, been up, people who were my age and just didn't know, it used to be really rough. I'm not used to a big old truck like that coming out of there. I mean, right in front of me, it was like, woo! Yeah, I was going slow too, thank goodness. Anyway, going behind here to get out. It's the short way. Anyway, but yeah, some people I don't tell people what to do. I don't tell people how to live their life. But when people are lying to people, and I mean, treating them like crap in the process, making fun of them, whether it's behind the scenes or right there in front of them. And there was another thing. They need to cut that tree back. Really. And, just doing things, like one of them, God, I wonder why all of a sudden somebody's really happy and really behaving certain strange ways. Is anybody really thinking that's what they're wanting to be helping out with? Possibly, allegedly. I could be totally wrong too. Yeah. Wow, I feel cramped here. I really do. Just for the record, I was zoomed in. I'm not that close, and it's not even that close either. But had that in front of me, a school bus on the left of me, and a big, I don't know what kind of truck that would be, behind me. I don't know what that would be, a dump truck, maybe? Is that what they were called? But they was real close to me too. But I wasn't real close to that one in front of me. I had to zoom out and show a little bit out. Anyway, my goodness, I'm rambling today. As every day. That is how I am. I don't mind saying it. But anyway, the whole thing of somebody lying to their audience, saying they don't have enough money for food, and then there's weight gain. And like I said, it's more than one person. A lot of weight gain. Okay, there's evidence. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a person who is a dietitian or any of that stuff to be able to say that as a voice of authority. I am not a voice of authority on it. But I've never known people to gain weight when they didn't have money for food. I mean, logically, if you don't have money for food, how are you going to gain weight? I mean, unless, well, of course, you could be eating or bumming and that too and all that. Well, that's the whole point. See, that is what it is. And lying about it for months on end. And never correcting it, never saying, oh, I got out of that and I'm doing much better. And I'm capable of buying groceries for me or me and my family. Maybe it's only one other person or two other people, three. Whatever it is, they're not little kids. Not that kind of family. But, and just lying about it. Just lying about everything. Just lying, total lies. Lies. Like, oh, I love my family, my online family. The ones that are paying the money. You don't love them. They don't love you. They love your money. That's my opinion. Like I said, I never name the person. I just talk about the behaviors. I've seen these. Some of it's like, I've seen them so many years now. Every year I wind up seeing another one, and I start making more videos. Some of it's a collective of all the ones I've seen over these years. Like I said, 10, 11 years. Yeah, it's the same thing. And then the whole thing of, then they go out and they do their hair or their nails. They use the money on frivolous stuff and they put it on video and show everybody. But they don't say, hey, I'm using your money for that. They just show this like they're living high off the hog and they have the money to do so. Like people should respect them because they have money. Well, they're bumming it off the people watching them. You see how ridiculous it is? And slimy. It's just slimy. That's low to me. People who do stuff like that. Because some of these people, they're on fixed incomes. And to me, that's obvious when they give a donation of $2 or something like that. And these people just take advantage of them. They don't care. It's all about them. But what the more recent ones was me actually, I really don't know why I did this. What it was I curious how much, I think it was that I was curious of how much of an ingredient cost. I'd never heard of it before, never seen it. Somebody was making a salad, I'd never seen it. I looked it up online. I was like, whoa, how expensive. Kind of like that oil, that olive oil that Adam's sister wanted to buy. Not that expensive, but close enough. Seriously, well, it actually was almost. So, to make a salad, people who want to live high off the hog on somebody else's money. So, ridiculous. And then, I don't blame victims because some of these people are such master manipulators, They know how to do it, and they do it that way, and they get all this money from people, and then they brag about it, and then they turn around like the next day and say, oh, I don't have money to eat today. I don't have money for groceries for the rest of the month, for next month and the month after. I don't have money. Oh. And the next thing you know, you see them out there spending 20-something bucks for 2 people, 3 people's meals. Each person, say close to 70 with tax and all, and this kind of thing, for one meal, and there's nothing left over. Weight gain, remember I talked about? But I'm not a voice of authority on any of that. So yeah, anyway, I think I'm all right.